Welcome to the Lady Charmaine Live show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about that dreaded topic, finances. I was watching Tyler Perry's Spent, and I was so inspired by the documentary that I had to have a conversation about the topic. So I invited two financial advisors to come and help me out so we can actually stop and break the cycle of being broke. And then I've invited a couple of my girlfriends. Yes, it's back, Lady Charmaine Live and Girlfriends. And we're going to be talking about some of today's hot topics. So call your girlfriends, phone them, tweet them, and tell them to tune in right now to Lady Charmaine Live. Back, and today we're talking about that dreaded word no one likes to talk about, finances. And I have two people here today to help me do just that. I want you to help me welcome investment advisor Dennis Goins of Dennis Goins and Associates and financial expert Mr. Wayne Wilson. Help me welcome them to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're able to join me on this show today. And I'm really excited about this show because I got a chance to watch Tyler Perry's documentary, and it was entitled Spent. And now I saw myself in every area, because to be honest with you, I did everything on that documentary except one thing, and that's get a loan against the car, right? But I thought it was so important because so many people get themselves into financial situations. And I want to start off with you, Wayne. I want to talk about just finances in general. And people get themselves into debt early on in life. I did when I was in college. And I didn't know what debt was until I got my first several credit cards.
Oh boy.
Now, for those who may not know what debt is, can you give us a brief definition of what is debt?
Debt is simply owing people money. Debt takes a variety of forms, whether it's taking a loan out, like you mentioned before, with student loans, credit cards, borrowing money from a friend, relative, neighbors, payday advances. You know, anytime that you have to borrow money and pay money back, that is considered debt.
That's simple. So you mean my kids owe me a lot of money?
Yes.
So they are indebted to me. And then, okay, so we know that once you get credit cards and student loans, okay, and then you go into default, it really affects your FICO score.
Correct.
I never even knew what that was until I went and got my FICO score, and it was a sad state of affairs.
Right.
For those who may not know what a FICO score is, can you explain what that is?
FICO score is one of those enigmas of whether it determines your interest rates, basically when you borrow money, or even if you're able to borrow money should you need it, whether you need money to buy a house, money to buy a car, a personal loan, or even in some cases student loans. The FICO score is made up of, basically it's a snapshot of your credit history. There's various factors in what makes up your FICO score, but the two major factors are the type of debt that you have, your debt, and your debt history. Basically, how long have you established credit if your credit's in good standing? If you have a bunch of late payments or even defaults, which is failure to pay back on a loan, that will severely impact your FICO score.
And see, I didn't realize, when you sent me this information, you said 35% of your score is based on your debt history.
Yes.
30% is based on your debt level. 15% is based on the length of time you've been in debt. Didn't even know that. And then 10% is based on new debt, and 10% is based on the type of debt. So all that could affect you getting what? A loan for a house?
Correct.
A loan for a car?
Right.
So you could just be broke all day.
Well,
if you got all this coming against you?
Right. It depends. Like, for example, if you wanted to buy a house, I mean, are you able to get a loan to buy a house? I mean, if you've got mortgage defaults, you know, a couple of years ago in the financial crisis, a lot of people walked away from houses, which have put some severe dent on your score. So it's not just the score itself, but the information on that report that determines your ability to borrow money and at what interest rate you're able to borrow those funds at.
Now, you was talking about the score. Now, how do, if you got into those situations, how do you begin to rebuild your score?
You got to pay money back. And the harder part is it's really more of a lifestyle. It's more of a mental behavior. I'd say about 80% of it is more of your behaviors. More than anything else, you know, in terms of, you know, living beyond your means. Some people take on a second job just to pay off a debt, trying to find ways to pay back debt in the shortest amount of time possible. For example, when you pay off a loan, most loans are structured where the majority of the first half of that loan is all going toward interest. So if you're able to pay that loan early, that's more money that's going to be back in your pocket because A, you paid it off earlier, and B, there's going to be less money that you're paying back on that loan in interest.
Now, for those who may not know what interest is, because you think if you borrow $500, that's all you have to pay back is $500. See, that's what I thought.
In very small circumstances, yes.
I didn't know anything about interest. Because see,
Right.
this is how a lot of people get messed up. I know when I went to college, my first 2 weeks in college. I went to the student bookstore, and everybody was standing in front of this table, right? So I wanted to be nosy. See, this is what I get for being nosy. Got me in debt.
Don't do
What
that.
y'all doing? What y'all doing? What they doing? And they was like, oh, you can fill this out and you get your credit card. I'm like, oh, I never had a credit card. So it was a Discover card. So I filled it out, and they got to the part where it asks you, what is your income, right? And I'm like, oh, I ain't got no money. And so the gentleman said, oh, don't worry about that. I can fill that part in for you. I said, because I don't want to lie on it. And so I was like, okay, if you do it, I'm fine. I was not going to be fine. Got that credit card in the mail. And what I learned was one credit card can get you another credit card. So here I am in the mall, going to the department stores. They're asking you, would you like to apply for our credit card today? You'll get 10% off on your purchase. And I'm like, oh, can I do that? So they was like, yeah, if you have a credit card, you can apply.
Right.
So I give them the credit card. And all of a sudden, I got a card number. Why did I max out the card before I left the store? Went on a shopping spree. I didn't know it was that easy. So I run down to the next department store. God is my witness. And got another credit card. Max out. Now, before I knew it, I had like 4 credit cards from department stores. And now I didn't realize these bills, they come every month.
Every month.
Around the same time. Wanting to be paid.
Yes.
But the problem was I had no money to pay these cards.
And that's the trap that a lot of people fall into. It's like,
Right.
oh, they think that credit card. I mean, granted, there are some things you might need a credit card for example, traveling, renting a car, certain purchases, but the main thing is if you buy something on a credit card, make sure you have enough funds to pay that card off, or at least a significant portion of the balance down. As you mentioned, the discounts, 10% off if you buy this, sign up with this card, or points. A lot of people
Right.
fall into credit card traps with points. Now, realizing that you're going to spend more money trying to accumulate points than if you just paid for something with cash, and points that may or may not be able to be used for whatever that card stated.
Right.
And so for travel or airline tickets, regardless of the blackout periods or whatnot. So in the end, is it really worth it? Most of the times more no than yes. But in order to pay that stuff off, you look at like what they call like a debt, like a debt snowball, for example. I've heard that over and over again, where you want to pay your smaller debts off first, or the higher interest, debts off first. There's certain debts that are going to take off longer times than others. For example, it's going to take more time to pay back a student loan, longer to pay off a house. But I mean, some people can pay off a car early, pay off a credit card early, pay off a personal loan early. And so when you pay that smaller loan off, you can use those funds that you're making toward, credit card A to pay off credit card B. Once those credit cards are paid off, the personal loan, pay off the car, and then you can really focus on your student loan debt and your home mortgage.
So what is interest?
Interest is the amount of money or what it's going to cost you to borrow the money over a certain amount of time. A lot of people think that, like 10% interest is going to be 10% interest on the life of a loan. Not necessarily. It's going to be 10% on a monthly basis. You have what they call like your interest rate and your APR, your annual percentage rate of a loan, which are 2 different amounts of interest. But basically, it's the amount over and above the initial amount that you were funded to pay that back.
So if I have $100 and my interest rate is 10%, so it's going to end up being $110 that I'm actually going to be owing, right?
If you pay that interest, if you pay that loan off, maybe
But if I didn't
1
pay
month,
the loan off,
then it's
in
going to
1
cost you 10% per month. And so,
So now if I'm at 110%, because I didn't pay last month, then it's going to tack on another 10% on my 110.
it's going to tack on 10% on whatever amount that you owe. So if you paid $50 back, then you're only going to be charged 10% on $50. If you only paid $10 back, you're going to be charged 10% on $90. And so that's how interest works, and the amount in terms of the amount that you're going to have to pay back to pay back the loan over time.
Okay, because I was trying to get that. So if a person misses a month, okay, so you got your late fee on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got $110 that you didn't pay back. And then that's why I was wondering, is there another 10% on top of that?
Yes,
so if you got
it does not stop
so the
until that loan is paid off.
So until that loan, so every month you're accumulating 10%, and only thing you spent was $110, even though you haven't paid that money back.
Right.
Wow, that's so interesting. And so how does when you're late paying because something may happen, got sick or something,
Right.
and you couldn't pay your credit card, how does that affect your score?
It all depends. It all really depends. It's kind of a gray area to answer because different creditors handle late situations differently. Depends on how long you're late. For example, most home mortgages, if you're late 15 days, they may charge you a late fee, but they won't report it to your credit score. Most credit companies, after 30 days late, they'll report that to your creditor. Some student loans, if you're 30 days late, they might not report it, but if you're 90 days late, they'll report it to to the credit reporting agencies. And that's also another important thing to notice: who is, what the three companies that make up your FICO score, your Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. A lot of times, in determining your FICO score too, when you're getting ready to make a major purchase, as a side note, it's important to order a copy of your credit report. I know you see a lot of the ads on TV from these different companies, but it's always best to order a copy of your credit score from the credit bureaus directly, and to look over that score. The information on that score determines what your score is. For example, when I bought my house, I discovered that I owned a condo in South Beach and a Mercedes 600, Benz. I would like to have the keys to both of those.
Wow.
But the thing is that while they weren't negative, because the people that whose information that was, they paid everything up to date on time, but it affected my what they call the debt to income ratio, because the mortgage on that home would have put me above and beyond what I would qualify to buy a house.
Are you saying that they used your information?
Not necessarily my information, but it was reported. I mean, your social security number is only 9 digits, and you look at the amount of millions of people. There are people that have the same social security numbers, and even in some cases, same names. So credit reporting information is not always accurate. But it was a situation that was easily cleared up. I just wrote a letter to those credit bureaus and says, hey, this is not mine. They looked into it, and it turns out that there were two different, Wayne Wilsons in opposite ends of the country who own different assets. So they took that off of my credit report, so that enabled me to buy the home.
You mean to tell me there's someone out there that could have my social security number that has excellent credit?
Maybe. I wouldn't bet on it, because it could be the other way around too. And so you want to make sure the information on your credit report is accurate. Old debt, for example. A lot of times people might put, I'll give a personal example. When I moved, from Sacramento to where I am now, there was like a $10 collection bill from Comcast, the cable company. And that was not accurate because, I had turned my cable equipment in months prior. And so it was an error on their part. So I had to write a letter to the cable company and to the credit bureau to get that cleared up. Now, it may not sound like a lot, but it is a dent on your credit bureau that, could affect things over the long run. And so within a matter of months, that was taken care of. But it's always better to do things for yourself. A lot of times another trap people get involved in what they call the debt consolidation companies or consolidation loans. It's still money you have to pay back. And so these companies, if you owe $20,000 in debt, you owe $20,000 in debt. Whether it's to 5 companies or to one company, that money still has to be paid back. And at that interest rate, as we talked about earlier, that money still has to be paid back. So instead of paying, smaller interest rates to a bunch of different companies, now you're paying one interest rate to one company, but it's still there. It's always better if you negotiate yourself. For example, I know a lot of people I used to work with, would contact these loan consolidators, and you look at an interest rates, up into the double, in some cases triple digits, depending on where that money's coming from. If it's a credit or what they call a hard money lender, which have a little bit of different rules than, a lot of traditional lenders like banks and credit unions. So they can charge those sky high interest rates because you need the money now, and your credit's not good enough to get it from a bank or credit union or another source. And so they can charge, the 50, 60, even 99%, but that's another topic for another show. To pay that money back, which means you will never pay that money back in a reasonable amount of time unless you either come into a large amount of cash or something happens to the company that, Now,
I want to know, Wayne, is it really true that I was listening to a gentleman on the radio and he was talking about how if you go to a debt consolidation company, that really hurts your credit even more if you told everyone that you should go ahead and negotiate, like you said, instead of you going to a debt consolidation company because that's really bad on your credit?
It can be, like I said, and it's the credit. The thing about the FICO scores is the credit card companies don't really release the formula of how that can help or hurt you in certain circumstances. But in a lot of cases, if you show as a debt consolidation company on your credit report that it doesn't necessarily show you that you're a bad person per se, but that the fact that you have bad spending habits, and that could cause other creditors to not lend you money in the future.
And he said it shows that you need help paying back your loans.
Correct.
That's what he said. He said it shows that you need help paying back your loans. And so that's why, because he said a lady went to go purchase a car and she was able to get all her debt paid off and went to go purchase a car, but because they said she went to
service,
there you go.
That's where it hurt her.
Exactly. So I want to talk about those payday loans. They in all the neighborhoods and all the hoods. I don't know about the neighbors, but the hoods.
Yeah, let's just focus on the hoods. It's an interesting dynamic, but that's a social economic,
correct.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that payday loan, because I know, everybody got a story. I didn't been to payday loans.
Right.
You get some money, you broke, you need to the next paycheck, you go. But how does that affect you? Because I was watching Spent, and it was really good how people were getting caught up in those loans because they weren't able to pay them back and getting caught up with the interest rates. Exactly. Why are those type of locations and places are not good for you?
Payday loans, it's still money. So instead of, getting paid, say, $1,000 per that paycheck, that money's still going to cost you, whether it's 3%, 5%, or whatever their payday loan advance fees are, plus that you have to pay that money back on top of what you already borrowed. So if you need money for living expenses and all of a sudden you don't have that money to pay that payday loan back, well, once again, the interest accumulates and you just get farther and farther into debt. Going back to the behavior lifestyle, I understand life happens. You know, emergencies happen, things happen that we need money to fix a car, fix a, you know, household appliance or whatnot. That's perfectly understandable, but if you can have the patience or preparation, you know, to save and to have that money available should those emergencies arise, you can avoid payday loans altogether. Living well within your means as well. Just because you have the new job or, you know, you got a bonus or something, you know, like an advance at work, doesn't mean you necessarily have to spend it all the time. You know, you have to learn how to put money away, pay yourself first. You know, 10% of your paycheck should go to a savings account, you know, as a basic well, you know, money saving tool. And so next thing you know, you have that money, you know, set aside. So if you need it, it's there for a real emergency versus, oh, I got to get that new bag or that new shoes or, you know, that new game that came out. And so a lot of times, you know, the mentality of people plays a large part into how much debt they have and whether or not they're able to pay that money back in a reasonable amount of time.
Now, you just said something because we're getting ready to transition, and you said 10% of that should go into some type of money-saving tool. So, my next guest, we have Mr. Dennis Goins of Dennis Goins and Associates. Now, this is a man that people want to go and see. So now you can take 10% and invest it with Mr. Goins.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And people need to learn how to save for the future because we always think about the present, but we don't really think about the future.
Absolutely.
And when we retire at 65, we look back and realize we are broke and we think we can live off Social Security. So please tell us about retirement. And really, when people retire, what are we saying?
One of my favorite quotes to all my clients is a quote by Mike Tyson. He says, everybody has a plan until they get hit. And a lot of people are getting hit in retirement. And what I mean by that is there's so many vehicles, so many problems that you can have for retirement that they need to have a planner to look at them. For example, companies used to have pension plans where once you work for so many years, then you have a pension. That's no longer the case. Now companies are shifting that burden to the employee. It's what we call a defined contribution plan. The employee is responsible for managing that investment. And that is a severe problem that I'm finding in my practice, not only with my clients, but in the whole country, because people just don't know how to manage their investments. And what's going to happen, people are retiring earlier and living longer. And if you retire at 65 and your average life expectancy is 90, that's a 30-year period that money has to last you to retirement. And the Social Security system, each year, they're making changes to that, and they're restricting that and eliminating and reducing that. The Social Security system is expected to go technically bankrupt by 2033 if nothing happens. So we have a crisis in this country as far as retirement planning, and most of my clients are middle market people. Of course, I have a few millionaires, etc., but the middle market is where my desire is, because that's pretty much where I came from. And we traditionally have invested in real estate because you could touch it, feel it, seal it. But the opportunity, and obviously a lot of people got hurt in the real estate crisis, due to the bubble. Bubbles are created and the smart money gets out before the bubble falls. And unfortunately, a lot of us got caught into that before it eliminated. But the investments, when we talk about investments, we're talking about the mutual funds, we're talking about the stocks, the bonds, pretty much in retirement plans, your 401k, your 403b plan. That's where the need is now, and knowing how to do that. And that's a great opportunity in the country now for individuals to know. Traditionally, you want to buy low and sell high. Most people buy high and sell low. If the stock market crashes 200 points, people sell their money. Well, you've already gotten hit, as Mike Tyson says. The worst thing you could do is sell your investment. You already got hit. Wait till it comes back up. But that discipline, or lack of discipline, the average individual doesn't know how to do that. And that's where there's a significant need for in this country.
Now you gave me some questions that people should ask themselves, and I thought this was good when you said, what do you want to do in retirement? Why is that question so important?
Well, we kind of say, what do you want to do when you grow up, so to speak? Most people, a lot of people have jobs that they may not necessarily enjoy. I mean, if you enjoy what you do, you never work another day in your life. But a lot of people, unfortunately, for whatever reason, work to maintain their family and whatever. So they're looking to retire so they can do what they wanted to do all their life. But you had to plan that. That just hadn't happened. You had to plan for that. There's a favorite commercial that says, what is your number? What does your number means based on the income that you have now, based on the assets you have now? What number, how much assets do you need to maintain this lifestyle, whatever that lifestyle is? So those type of planning questions, those type of issues, particularly in our community, we need to really emphasize that and not kind of put our head under the sand, and because it's on you. It's not going to be the government, it's going to be on you, and we have to be open to that and be educated on that, and really appreciate your show for obviously doing that and exposing the community to that, because it's definitely needed.
Why are some people so afraid to look at their own personal finances? Why are we so afraid of money? Where does that fear come from? Because sometimes people don't want to balance the checkbooks, they don't want to look at it. We just want to spend and don't want to look. Where does that fear come from?
It's interesting you say that. I talk to my clients about don't get a $40 latte. $40 latte is you don't know how much money is in your checking account, and you go to whatever company you go and buy the coffee, and you put that card in their debit card, and you don't have any money in there. Well, the latte costs you $5, but the bank is going to charge you a $35 fee for that money in there. So I allow you to have a $40 latte. A lot of people that I've found don't even balance your check account. And so how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you are? That's important to do that. To answer your question about why people basically fear the unknown. And that's why, again, we have to educate our people on the importance of doing that. The responsibility is on you. Particularly with, Social Security is available. Even with Social Security, there's some things that's happening, how you can integrate that and fulfill that, because it is inflation-based. In other words, whenever it starts, then you can get an inflation-based cost of living increase on that. A pension, on the other hand, if you get a pension, that pension is the same. It's not what we call inflation-proof. Well, we know that $5 a day is not going to be $5 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line. So that concept, that thinking is very important for us to see and it's very simple to do that.
And you have a really good question when somebody should ask themselves, where do you want to live? Why is that question so important, where you want to live?
Well, I think where you want to live is based on the cost of living. For example, some may say California, well, not say it is. California is more expensive than some of the other states. Well, if you want to basically maintain that lifestyle in California, then you need to plan for that. If not, as an alternative, you could go to an economy or a state or a city that has basically the standard of the cost of living is a little bit lower, which would help your standard of living. So that's why you need to map all that out. And hey, what do I want to do when I grow up? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to live? So those are key questions that I ask my clients whenever we plan for retirement.
Okay. And when you say, what does your day look like?
My day, well, I get up, my personal day.
It's just a question. Is that a question that you ask someone? What does your day look like?
What does your day look like is a concept that was a question for the client. So how do you visualize yourself in retirement? Do you want to sit around and get on your spouse's nerves day in and day out, or you want to get a part-time job? You want to play golf? What is an ideal retirement that a person wants to look at? So you have to visualize that and conceive that before you can achieve that. So that's what, when I ask the questions for my clients, what an ideal day looks like. You have a chance to do that. You can control that, but you got to plan for that. It just isn't going to happen.
You never really think about that, especially when you're in your 20s. You just live in every day.
Absolutely.
You don't really think about the future when you retire. What do I want my day to look like? Especially if you always saw your parents working and they worked all the way up until they retired. Now they're on Social Security. But and then you just think you just live on Social Security, sit at home, watch television.
Right.
If you don't see a bigger picture of taking vacations and cruises, and because they set themselves up. And I think in African American community, we don't see a lot of that. People really setting themselves up, and living well. Where you could say, when I retire, that's how I want to retire. We just think you just retire and go to church, and then we go to your funeral and have a wonderful home going.
Right.
That's really what I know growing up. That's what I saw. People retire and they go into church, and then you go to their funeral. They lived a nice long life, but we really don't see the fullness of life that they really could have lived.
Right. And I think that's important. You mentioned the young folks. Even though you're young, it's never too young to start accumulating for retirement or any type of plan investment, because of compounding, the rule of 72, as far as doubling investments. Those are all key. And a lot of problems I see for young folks, they work for a company, and a lot of people change jobs more so than they did when we were 20, or when I was 20. I don't want to say when you were 20, when I was 20. And a lot of times that 401k or that investment that they have, instead of rolling it over into an IRA, they take distribution of that. Well, if they had left that money in that 401k simple, even though it's $1,000, $2,000, if you take that money and let it accumulate and compound, that could be a significant amount of money that accumulates for their retirement plan. But just by them simply taking it out, they're paying a 10% penalty and taxes. And the rule of compounding, making money on top of money, is how you accumulate wealth. And that's what I think everybody needs to basically take, the accumulation of wealth. You make money on top of money.
And you had another good question. Basically, when you retire, your retirement lifestyle.
Yes.
And you really got to think, well, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live when you retire? That's a thought that I never thought of.
Right.
Until I read the question that you have. I never thought about how I want to live, where I want to vacate. You know what I'm saying? I just thought you just retire. Of course, do a couple cruises.
Right.
You know
Okay, absolutely.
That's what you think about. You like do a couple
Absolutely.
cruises, go Norwegian. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, 65 and older cruise.
Right. Absolutely.
but that's about it. Why are these questions so important to ask us now? And at what age should we start asking ourselves these questions?
I think the planning period is, like I mentioned, 25 is not too early. Definitely by age 45, you should be focusing on what you're going to do for retirement, because on the average, you have about 10 to 15 years before you're going to retire. And if you're unfortunate, for whatever reason, get laid off or whatever, and that goes back to the point about Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until you get hit. You get hit if you lose your job.
Right.
You have to, you have these assets that you've accumulated from. You have the house equity or whatever. You might have to pull off of that. If you don't have an emergency fund, which is one of the basic foundations. If you don't have a 6-month emergency fund, that's a foundation. Everything else above that is going to be weak. And it's just like building a house on sinking sand. If you don't have that foundation, things are going to happen. But you got to plan for it happening. And that's irrespective of how old you are. And things happen where people have to retire early, a person could be disabled. All those things can happen, but you got to plan for that thing for happening, and that's what I try to focus on my clients and encourage everybody to do that, because that's very important.
So when you sit down with your clients,
Right.
what are some of the first questions you ask them? Because we're all going to need to have to go to somebody to help us with our finances. And so since we have you here, what are some of the first questions that you ask your client?
Why are you here? How can I help you? Open-ended questions. One of the things that I try to do is listen to my clients, because not everybody's the same. Everybody has different goals, they have different objectives, they have different concepts of what they want to accomplish. I don't try to put everybody in the same hole. I try to consistently understand what a person wants to accomplish, because if you have a person on this side that's conservative and you want to make them aggressive, even though they would probably make their retirement goals better, you don't try to do that because you get them out of their comfort zone. So you take a person from where they are. That's why one plan is not consistent for everybody. You have to take them where they are, and it takes time. Each individual retirement planning individual has to feel comfortable with who they're dealing with. It doesn't matter what I know. I mean, I have all the credentials and whatever, but I never talk about that. That's not important. It's trust me as an individual, and more importantly, if I'm listening to what you say. A lot of people talk and try to express people about what they know. I try to listen to my clients and find out what they're trying to do. And I tell them, I say, this is not going to work, but we're listening and understanding, but we try to get you through that little deep waters for his retirement.
Because you mentioned earlier about mutual funds. Now, for those that are listening and who don't know anything about investments, what in the world is a mutual fund?
Mutual fund is an investment vehicle, and the opportunity for a mutual fund, it takes, instead of you buying stock A, stock B, or stock C, then you have a manager that buys those for you based on different objectives and does that. A lot of people have mutual funds in their retirement plan, their 401k. Unfortunately, I find a lot of issues there, because a lot of the mutual funds, based on the ratings, are not necessarily above performance-wise. So that's what I have to do, and based on my client's risk tolerance. That's you can be conservative, aggressive, or somewhere in between. Matching that mutual fund with my client's risk tolerance, that's what we call asset allocation. So that's where the client doesn't know. They see all these vehicles out there, but they don't know which one's good. The company is going to tell you all of them are good, but a lot of times we find that's not the case. Now they're introducing what they call target dated funds based on the time you're going to retire. If you're going to retire in 2022, 2023, or whatever, then it allocates it for it. And that's helping, but a lot of those are not good. So picking the good fund that's consistent with the client's needs, it goes back to the client need. You could have two individuals sitting there, same age, one's aggressive, one's conservative. Totally different plans.
So when you say aggressive and conservative, what do you mean by that?
That means that the stock market goes up 30%, you're good with that. When the stock market drops 30%, you're good with that.
Okay, you can
You're
make
not
30%,
you're not
you can
aggressive.
lose
You're-
30%.
yeah, you're not aggressive. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but a more conservative person is I want return of my money, not necessarily return on my money. So if I give you $10,000, when the time's up, I want my $10,000 back. I'm not worried about it being $20, $30, $40,000. So that again is based on a person's risk tolerance, and you have to understand that. And you don't try to sway somebody that's conservative into being more aggressive. You can let them know being conservative, you probably won't reach your goals, but at least you know that. And we have to do other things to do that. And that's, again, listening to what the client tells you and understanding that and being very receptive to that.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show. It was a pleasure having the both of you on the show. And hopefully I have you back because I got a couple more questions about these investments because I want to start an investment club. I just need a few conservative people, because I am not aggressive, to join me in that. But coming back, we're going to be talking to a few of my girlfriends, and we're going to be talking about today's hot topics, all coming up when we come back on Lady Charmaine Live. Lady Charmaine Live is sponsored in part by Savali Hair. For more information, go online to savalihair.com.
Looking for a station that plays uplifting music with an inspirational message? Praise 98 FM Jams is your station. Log on to praise98fm.com from anywhere in the world and get your praise on with artists like Kirk Franklin,
Even though I've been here for a while,
Skill, Dawkins and Dawkins,
Get down, get down, get down.
and Mary Mary. It's music the whole family can enjoy. Listen to Lady Charmaine Live weekdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for great interviews, contest giveaways, and entertainment news. Listen to Praise 98 FM Jams at work, at home, or on the go. Download the free TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone and search Praise 98 FM and start jamming today. We want you to like us on Facebook at Praise 98 FM Jams and join the Praise 98 FM Jams family. Log on right now at www.praise98fm.com. Your worldwide radio alternative. Internet radio never sounded so good.
Hey, do you want to be a part of our live studio audience? For free tickets, go online to LadyCharmaineLiveShow.eventbrite.com and join the fun today. Lady Charmaine, and we are back, and I'm back with a couple of my girlfriends so we can talk about Lady Charmaine Live and girlfriends, one of my favorite topics, because we are going to be talking about some hot topics over the past few months and also even within the past week. And we're going to talk about this one particular topic I think is pretty juicy. And to help me do that, help me welcome Miss LaTroya Brown, Carmelita Goche, and my good girlfriend, because she be mobbing, Stacia Mobbs. Help me welcome her back to the show. So ladies, I got this topic. I think it is so juicy, and it's been the talk of Facebook, right? There was a young lady who was in the club, and she got down on one knee and proposed to her girlfriend. So should women propose to men? That is my first question, and I'm going to you, Troya.
No, hot mess. Absolutely not. I think it takes away from the role of the man, and it sets the bar for what your relationship is going to be like. I think that when, as a family, you know, if you're together, that you guys should establish, you know, that that's the time that you're ready to do it, and the man should take up that role. If he has not taken that next step to ask, then he's not ready to be, either he's not ready to be married or he doesn't want to marry you. So I don't want you like that. And then I just think that it's a definite no. As a woman, you should allow him to do that. And it should be a mutual understanding, like it's a part of the relationship. You guys discuss being ready to take that next step. Taking that initiative of doing that, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're vulnerable to demasculine. What's the word? Demasculine. I don't know. But no, I think I just say absolutely not. I think it's not a good look at all, especially in the way she did it.
And I feel that when a man asks a woman to marry him, it is saying so much. He is saying to that woman, I want you to bear my last name.
Yes.
I want you to help carry my legacy.
Yes.
That is what that is saying. You know what I mean? Because he's giving you his last name and you guys are coming together as one. So with the woman proposing to the man, is he going to take on her last name? I want you to bear my last name. Because it's so backwards and it's out of God's order. What do you think, Carmelita?
Well, I would say that for one, it speaks a lot about self-worth, and also also just about compromising your standards. Like, for one, like, you know, you feeling like you need to propose to this man, it's like you're not willing to wait for someone to really be in love with you and decide that, you know, that I want to make you my wife. If you feel like you have to step into that place because you fear that they're not going to do it, then you don't need to marry that person. You need to wait for someone who absolutely loves you and can't spend, you know, want to spend the rest of their days with you, you know, and if you're not willing to wait for that, then essentially you're compromising your standards. What I'm thinking, what I'm saying.
Agreed. Completely agree. First, a woman proposing to a man is just, I've never seen anything like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing your feelings, you know, and letting your mate or significant other knowing this is how I feel, you know, and you professing your love. But when it gets to the point that you feel like you have to get down on one knee and, you know, ask him, can you please marry me? I just think it's kind of thirsty, you know?
Yes,
it's the thirst is real.
Absolutely. That's the new slang. The thirst is really real. Okay, now, if recently in an award show, there was a rapper, and she threw shade at another rapper. And I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm talking about Nicki Minaj versus Iggy Azalea. And at first, I didn't even know what the shade was. I'm like, who are they talking about? Why was that even necessary to say during your acceptance speech? But my question is, should female rappers get involved in the whole throwing shade movement, how male rappers have been doing over the past few years? Should women come together in unity and not throw shade? What example are we setting? I want to know.
Right. Well, I just think Nicki Minaj was totally wrong in the way that she did, you know, when she was accepting her award, and then all of a sudden she says, you know, if you hear something from me, it's because I wrote it. But then in her very next breath, she says, I'm putting on for the women. Either it's going to be, you know, united, we stand for the women, or it's not. You know, I don't really see why she's making such a big deal off of Iggy having a ghostwriter or whatever. Why is it unacceptable in the rap world to have a ghostwriter, but R&B artists, gospel artists, they do it all the time, and it's glorified. I don't know if that takes away from your gangster because you don't write your own verses, but I don't see why she would come at Iggy the way that she did, and especially on the platform that she did it. It was not right.
I don't agree with what she did in any means, but it sounds like, and from what happened, I feel like there had been some type of underlying, you don't deserve to get this award again. So I feel like she was making a statement saying, you know, I deserve this. Like, yes, I got it again, and yes, I stand for women, and I think that we all should come up, and I'm pro women, but don't get at me because this is my 5th year winning it, and I write my own stuff. I'm not dissing the fact that you are not a good artist, but I deserve to be here. So, I mean, I'm not for it. I think that if you're going to stand for, you know, women empowerment and women artists and MCs, then you shouldn't, on that platform, it should be all positive. Why even throw shade, you know? Let your talent, your gift, your ability speak for itself. But in the same breath, I feel like she was saying, I'm here, I'm still here, and I deserve to be here. You know what I mean? So that's my...
I mean, if she's writing her own raps and, you know, they're good raps, then okay, good. You deserve to win. And she won. So that should have been enough.
Yeah.
Accept your award humbly and get off the stage. Like, you don't even have to say that. Like, apparently everyone agrees that you're the best rapper.
Like, with the culture, back to your question, with the culture and the way the culture is right now, that's how we keep things going and we feed off of things. And, you know, everyone was talking about that for time after it. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to think as well. It's not just about being humble. Not everybody is in that place where it's just about being humble. Sometimes you got to say something to keep things going so that there's more, you know what I mean? Which to us, it's like, why? You know, let it speak for itself. But everybody ain't on Beyonce's level. I'm just saying.
Or do you think it might have been said too, just to let Iggy know you didn't really deserve to be in this category because you don't write your own raps?
I don't think so, because everybody has ghostwriters. Nobody writes their own rap.
Well,
it's
and
not
even
so
like
many.
R&B singers, they have other people writing their songs. So what difference does it make if a rapper is doing it? Granted, you might have more swag or be more cooler because you can freestyle and put it to the song. That's great. But if you can read the lyrics given to you and rap them, and it sounds good and everyone likes it, then okay, it's fine too, you know?
I think even just between Nicki Minaj and Iggy, there's got to be more, because I don't know if y'all caught this, but even when Iggy was performing with T.I. and they were, you know, panning the camera across the audience, when they got to Nicki, she was like in her own world, just like finessing the camera, doing her own thing, almost saying like, forget this chick on the stage. I'm still, you know, the queen or whatever. I'm not paying attention to you. So I just think that it's going a little bit too far. I think that there's got to be more to it than just, you know, you're not writing your own lyrics.
Right. She just don't like her. She
Right.
might be
She
jealous.
just doesn't like
There
her.
could be
competition.
There's something going on there.
Right.
That's what I think. Maybe something Iggy said on a low or something that hasn't been publicized.
Or Nicki just does see her as a threat. But then saying, you know, going, you know, over and beyond, she feels vulnerable, like, oh, this chick might check my spot because everyone likes fancy. I'm gonna throw her under the bus. You know, I'm gonna throw her under the bus. She don't write her own raps.
Nicki going, who that? Who that? So that's what's going on right now. Well, there's a reality show. It's called Famous in 12, and it's showcasing an African American family, a mom, dad, and 3 daughters. And the Famous in 12 is to become famous in 12 weeks. So they're given 12 weeks to become famous. How far would you go to become famous doing a reality show? And they are given certain tasks to do to get the paparazzi to take pictures of them. And one of the scenes, one of the girls, she took off her clothes and she went down a street nude. Do you think reality shows are going too far, or do you think it's just the people willing to do anything to become famous? Because a lot of times people are blaming it on the reality shows, but reality shows need people. What do you think?
I think that it is just the world in general. The reality shows need ratings to thrive. People want what they think is fame. They don't really know what it costs and what it's, you know, taking from them to be fame, and this sense of false reality. So people are willing to compromise themselves and do all kind of crazy stuff. I think that it is ludicrous. The fact that their parents are okay with it and also a part of it is ludicrous. I think that, you know, we should be focusing on what our gifts and abilities are, and if you acquire fame because of it, then great. But I don't think that, you know, doing things that you probably wouldn't do, but just because for fame you would do, I just think that it's absolutely unacceptable. Running around butt naked to get someone to take pictures of you. I mean, and then on top of that, how long is your fame gonna last?
Exactly.
After this 10 minutes, then what? And now you butt naked on a show, you know, and it's like for 5 minutes, you know what I mean? Or is it worth it? And even financially, like, even if you're gonna acquire some money is, you get it and it's gone. Like, people remember you and then forget you in the same breath. So is it really worth it to do that? You know, I think it's not.
And see, I would rather seek going after being rich and you don't even need to know me, because it doesn't make any sense to be famous and broke. Now, if you're rich and famous, that's great. But to have fame and still broke and still can't pay your bills, and now you got new pictures of yourself out there. But then to have your parents who are supporting you in that, and that's the issue. And the thing I love about Harvey Levin, because they do the little segment towards the end, basically when he's talking to them, he said, you see what this world does, and it draws you in. And every episode is causing them to do more and more. And how much are you willing to, it's almost like, are you willing to sell your soul for this industry? But basically what they're saying is, yes. And that's the thing that's so sad. What do you think?
Kind of on exactly what LaTroya said, actually, in terms of what about what's going to happen after, what's going to happen next. This is essentially going to be your one-hitter quitter. Like, you know, you compromise yourself to be famous. If you're going to compromise yourself to be famous, you shouldn't even be on that platform, because it's selfish anyway. Like, I feel like if you're going to, whenever you are on a platform, you should use that to be a positive influence to other people's life. Like, that's what we need. But the world don't say it like that. No one, as of right now, is saying it's all about themselves. It's all about me getting money, me being popular, me. So they're doing what everyone else does, but at least they're, I'm talking in terms of like entertainment, actors, singers, whatnot, you know, they're famous or whatever, but at least they're famous based on a talent or something that they've done. You're willing to just
do whatever.
Well, not everybody. Kim Kardashian.
Well, once again, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, you exposed yourself literally, like, to get your fame. Like,
but she didn't know. Remember, it was Ray J that sent out that video. She didn't.
But Kris Jenner approved it.
You know, well, Kris Jenner, she basically began to capitalize
Right.
off of it.
Yeah.
True. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, but at least, okay, she got famous off of that, but she didn't have to do much more, but just the paparazzi already gravitated. You're trying on purpose to do things to attract the paparazzi. Like, that
Right.
just looks thirsty in another way.
Thirsty.
Thirsty in
And as
another
crazy as
for
our world is,
fame.
they're not gonna, because they know that, they're not gonna feed into it.
They're gonna laugh at you,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be famous for that second. They're gonna watch your YouTube video. They're gonna watch your picture or look at your picture in the magazine, laugh,
And then when you're
repost it on Instagram. Probably something negative about you, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the thing that's funny, it's not working because none of you all know who they are.
I never even
I never heard of the show, honestly.
So it's not working. Now, why is America so nosy concerning celebrities? As people, we say what the paparazzi is doing is wrong by invading people's privacy, right? But then we go and purchase the magazines. We go and read the blogs. We give them a whole bunch of hits. And then the paparazzi are saying, oh, well, they're interested in this individual. So let me go ahead and continue to take pictures and continue to invade their privacy because the people. So are we sitting up here basically helping the paparazzi perpetuate this whole thing against celebrities? If we stop buying the magazines, do you think we'll put the paparazzi out of business and they'll stop? So is it really the paparazzi or is it us?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, paparazzi are always going to be there because of the fact people are nosy. But honestly, at the end of the day, celebrities are normal people just with a whole lot of money or, just a lot of publicity. If I were to go out and cheat on my husband today, it's not going to make major news. But if a celebrity were to do it, it's going to be all over the headlines. Or if, they have to pay child support, they've got to do this, they just crashed their car. But yet this is what happens every single day in normal life. And so, but because they're celebrities, people are just drawn to that, not really realizing that happens every day. Does it really matter? Who really cares? But it's a combination of both. If the paparazzi is always going to take pictures, they're always going to, record TMZ, all of that, because there's always going to be somebody that's nosy who just has to know and wants to know just to get the inside scoop, right? So.
And then we have to remember too, it all works together. It all works together. Like, in order for them to be celebrities, we have to care about them. We have to know who they are. We have to wanna know what's going on with them. So, like, if we are not interested in taking pictures of them, then the paparazzi don't have jobs, and then they're not in magazines, and then they're not famous. You know what I mean? Like, it works together so that they can continue. So yes, they don't want, it gets annoying, and they don't want the invasion, and they want to be able to go to the grocery store with their kids. But at the same time, you signed up for that.
Right.
When we stop caring, then you stop becoming a celebrity. You stop being in the blogs. Whether good or bad, that's still publicity.
Right.
So,
but even with celebrities, they feed into it too.
they do.
Yeah.
They pay for it.
They sell it.
They
Yeah.
sell
They
their
know-
pictures.
Yeah.
And they know where the paparazzi are. Because see, when people start off in this industry, you need the paparazzi. You want them to take
Exactly.
pictures of you to put you out there because you want, how many magazines can you be on? How many television shows? Because you want everybody to know your name, like
Right.
Cheers. I
back
want
to
everybody
famous
talking about me. Now, all of a sudden, you're there now. Now it's like, okay, back off.
Right.
You know what I mean? So which one do you want? Because you have celebrities that go to known restaurants that they know the paparazzi are at to get their pictures taken. Their goal is to be at all the parties so they can make it into the magazines. But then where do you draw the line? Now you want to tell the paparazzi, look, I don't want you in my business today. Check me tomorrow. You know what I mean? When I'm feeling good, I'm feeling better. But we can't do that. And so my next question for you all, because a person is a rapper or singer, in the public eye concerning their talent, does that give the paparazzi the right to invade their privacy behind the closed doors?
No.
Okay,
Of course, I don't think it's acceptable.
Right.
A line should be drawn to like, okay, maybe if I'm out in restaurants, whatnot, but some stuff like, don't publicize my divorce and all that. Like, that's my personal business. But, I mean, like I said,
because see, we just care about the music. You know how some people say, I'm a singer, that's what I do. Just care about my talent. Don't care about what's going on over here. I'm an artist, you buy my records, I want to just talk about my music. I don't want to talk about my husband, my kids, my
Well,
dog.
here's the thing though, like, if paparazzi we're putting those articles, those pictures out there, right? And it goes back to us people. If we didn't care, if that magazine, that's her magazine, didn't sell because that picture, was in there, then they're going to be like, oh, they don't care about this. We don't need to take pictures of this. But the more we get in to the celebrities' business, the closer we get, and they're getting more sales. They're going to keep on going, seeing how far they can go to get that money to sell their picture, to sell their magazine or whatnot, at the expense of that celebrity.
But do we have the right to really know about their personal business?
I don't think we should.
I don't think we should.
No,
But
shouldn't.
Because it's just like what I just said. Who cares if you have to pay X amount of money in child support? My neighbor does,
Right.
Well, let's put him in the news,
Right, right.
At the end of the day, it's none of our business. Now, on the other end, if you have a reality show like Tamar and Vince or, the Kardashians, and you are allowing, us into your home, and you're allowing, cameramen and camera crews and paparazzi to be planted outside of your home, that's a different story. But anything outside of that, when paparazzi are just like stalking you at your hotel, or they're hanging out at the courtroom to see what's going to happen, that's none of
Like
our
with
business.
Halle Berry and her daughter. They was hanging out
Yeah,
across the
they
street from
do,
her home.
yeah.
I mean, just doing extremely too much. When people have children, I do believe children are off limits because it is the parent that's in the limelight, not their children. Children didn't ask to come into this world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't say, well, because they're in the limelight, everything that's concerning you. I just want to hear about you and your movies. You know what I mean? Because to be honest with you, some stuff I don't even read. I read so much stuff, but I don't even want to talk about it, or I don't even post it because some of that stuff don't need to be. Just imagine if that was you. And I just wish one day somebody would stock about 5 different paparazzis and get all their business and put it on blast one day. I just really, really do, just so they can see what it's.
And I think that they know how uncomfortable it is. It's just a job to them, just like everything else. And I did want to make one point. There are some celebrities that paparazzi and them, they know their boundaries. There are people in school. I did an article on LL Cool J. I've never once heard anything about when he finally came out about it. It was like openly, like on Oprah or something. But there wasn't a lot. Like there's certain celebrities,
Prince,
where you don't hear about their personal life like that. Like because they limit to what they put out, where they go. So if you're mindful and you're cautious and aware of the type of lifestyle you want to live, then you don't have to worry about that. Like yes, if he goes out, paparazzi's gonna take pictures of him, but they don't be all, you know what I mean? And it's like cool. Like when he sees him, he's cool. Hey, how you doing? And he keeps it moving. So I think that people play the woe is me card when they make certain decisions throughout their career, and that's put them in a position where we want to know every single moment. If they conduct themselves, if they're all about their business, whatever their gift and talent and ability is, and they can conduct themselves as such, then it won't be so bad.
I wonder what kind of contracts do Prince have? Because you don't hear nothing about him. And the only reason we know a little bit about him because he was married to Maite on Hollywood Exes, and that's about it. But anything else, that brother must have a confidentiality clause where you got to probably pay a couple million if you open your mouth.
Right.
You don't hear a whole lot about Beyonce. We only heard about the elevator incident because the security guard released the videotape, and we would not have heard about that. I wonder, I would love to talk to somebody and say, do you make everybody sign contracts?
She probably does.
And what
And then
is the dollar amount?
and the way she conducts herself. I think it's that. If you're just loose with everything and how you talk to people, how you interact with people, and your business stuff is not together, you got all kind of people around you, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think people learn from their mistakes as they're going around and be like, okay, I know that I need to have no cell phones when we're in this position. I know, you know what I mean? They keep their stuff together.
Even the dancers, no one says anything, none of the background singers. So, that would be a key. I would love for them to do a class on how to keep your private life private.
They probably pay a lot.
They probably pay a lot.
They pay a lot to be
sure they do.
you get this amount of money and you're signing.
And maybe
saying
don't even
this
pay.
isn't
The
happening.
contract would have them paying a lot.
Right? If this gets out,
Right.
yeah.
You're going to pay.
That makes sense.
And they know they broke as all get out. They're only getting the check from Beyonce. Before it's on that paper. You know what I mean? So that thing probably is so thick that it would cause you to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting. Now let's talk about, I read an article that J. Crew now has size 000 and also size triple extra small. My question is, are they helping these young children with basically, images? The body image is huge now because as we see in magazines, young girls are getting the whole thigh gap thing and not even spray painting the thigh gap in the magazines. And so young girls have these body images to lose weight. And so now you go to a store like a J. Crew and now you got the triple X and then you got, triple extra small and triple zero. Do you think stores like this, I'm not saying that they do, I'm just saying, will young girls have a body image complex if they saw those sizes and feel that they can't fit in them?
Not even just young girls. I just feel like people in general, I get frustrated going, to the store and trying on what I thought was a size, whatever. And then I can't even fit my thigh in there, so I get upset. So if you are naturally, which a size 0 is small. I don't even know what a triple 0 would look like. But if you are naturally that size, then of course, then it is what it is. But for young girls to feel like this is what's normal, I have to fit in a triple 0 or a triple extra small, or I'm not gonna be, in the cool crowd or, the popular club or whatever. I do think stores are, going a little bit too far. Not just stores, but just with media, like you said, the airbrushing and things. I saw on, I think it was Instagram or YouTube, something, and the caption said, Photoshop can turn anything into a beautiful woman. It took the picture of the beautiful woman and it reversed it to what the original picture was. It was a slice of pepperoni pizza. They took a slice of pepperoni pizza and they turned it into a woman wearing a red bikini. They smushed the pepperonis together to make the top, and then another pepperoni, and they morphed it into bikini bottoms. And so if you can take a piece of pepperoni pizza and turn it into a model, it's like we have to understand that magazines are not 100% reality, and there has to be something to help our young girls,
That's what I was going to say. It's a whole mind thing. You're feeding into your mind. You're looking at these things, or you're watching people on TV who, went through all this, the contouring and all that, and the for the pictures, I'm trying to say, the editing, and what it's doing is putting it out there. Okay, this is what's acceptable. This is what is hot. This is what. Here's the image that everyone finds acceptable. How do you measure up to that, And it's going to be out there. You can't change that because everyone's not going to be the same size. You could still be small and have different shapes or whatnot, but you have to understand your own self and be comfortable in your own skin regardless, and say, I'm not going to measure myself up to these standards. I'm going to measure myself to these moral standards, you know what I mean? And just have your change of mind, transform. So I think, just as much as they're the media out there portraying images of what, should look like, there should be more counter people saying, okay, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, and, enhancing their good qualities and whatnot.
And I think they don't realize that it makes ladies such as myself that used to be a size 5 and I'm a size
that number.
Exactly. And then it makes us feel a little more self-conscious because I know what size I should be wearing, right? And so you're going to pull that size off the rack and all of a sudden that size is too small.
Right. Yeah.
And then they don't have another size after that. And so you're stuck. You know what I mean? And then you go try. I remember last month when I was trying on clothes for my show, and I had pulled out, I'm not going to lie, I had about 20 dresses. Found one that fit.
Wow.
Yep.
One. And I went back twice because the first whole set that I had, nothing fit. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this one more time, right? I'm not gonna give up because I don't like shopping. I'm not a shopper. And so I went and grabbed a whole nother set. I'm talking about to the point dresses was falling off as I'm going to the room because I refused to go back, keep going back. So I had a whole pile of dresses and found one dress that fit out of all of those dresses. And it's like, I know one of those dresses should have, at least fit me,
Right.
And so that's my quest to lose a few pounds. Because I don't like going to the store and and you go to the rack and nothing on that rack fits you.
Yeah.
So I say, well, okay, now obviously it must be an issue because I'm too small for Lane Bryant. And I'm too big for other stores. So it's like I'm caught right in that middle section of can't I can't find anything to wear. And it makes it so difficult when you know that you should be able to wear something. So you got the 000 girl, you got the triple extra small. And so what are we telling our daughters?
Right. And I think that what's most important out of all things is everything is about what this false reality. So I think it's important as parents, and I'm not one yet, but I know how important it is, especially for young girls, for them to sit down with them and talk to them about who they are and their self-worth, like she was saying, because if you're what you're looking to, if you're looking to celebrities, if you're looking to, because it's this false reality that they woke up like that, like, oh, they just look like that naturally,
like
and they don't talk about what it takes to get that, or the photoshopping and all that stuff. You just see it, and that's what it is, especially for young women. So I think having positive people in your life, enforcing that, and then talking about, even as a family, discussing health and properly eating and working out together, and talking about health versus looking good. What your body proportion is supposed to actually look like versus what I'm trying to look like to portray this image for everyone else. So I think we don't do that enough, especially us. We don't do that enough. It's like, either accept me for what it is, or I'm trying to kill myself to push to look like this instead of health, actual health.
But we're making a $1 billion business. New show called Botched. I watch it on E. Very interesting. One of the doctors, he came on my show, and it's amazing. Americans' pursuit, for the perfect look, and getting, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 nose jobs, and getting, umpteen breast augmentations. And the show Botched is about people who had gotten plastic surgery that was botched up, and now they got to go and repair those looks. And then you have one lady that was on the show who was Asian, and she tried to look more American, and now she wanted to go back to her Asian looks, but she can't go back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So sometimes the look you thought you were going to be getting was going to be better than what you had, and you realize you just want to go back, to what you used to be. And sometimes you cannot go back.
Right.
Once you get those nose jobs and people's noses are collapsing and getting cartilage from different places, it is amazing to see.
It's scary.
It really is. Well, it's been fun, and thanks so much for watching Lady Charmaine Live, and be sure to watch us every 4th Friday right here on Channel 18 here in Sacramento. And we got more hot topics coming, so if you want more, all you got to do is tweet it to me at Charmaine Live. And thank you so much for watching. Tell a friend.